Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So I decided I wanted to use a kikki.K notepad as a bit of inspiration for a Memorydex card. And this is kind of what I've come up with, and it took a while to get here. So if you want to play along with the process, then just keep watching. Alright, so we're going to do a Memorydex card today, and I asked you guys on Instagram which one of these collections you'd most like to see me use to make it. These are all kikki.K collections. Mountains, Write Your Own Tomorrow, Cute, or is it Sweet, don't remember, and this Valentine's Day one. And I thought for sure you guys would vote for one of these two, and you've completely surprised me, and you picked this one. Thank you very much for taking me outside my comfort zone. Jeez. Not quite sure what I'm going to do here. I have an idea for maybe making a background, smushing in some colours that kind of match this. So I grabbed my swatches out of all my distress inks. I've kind of matched Tattered Rose up with this pink, and then I've done Aged Mahogany, which is this one here, up with this. It's not quite the same, but it's close. And then I've put in where is it, vintage velvet, Victorian velvet, which is this one here, sort of as the purple. So it's not quite the same hues, but it's pretty close. So I thought we'd play with some ink smushing. So I've got the 3 oxides out. I'm going to start off with Aged Mahogany because it's the darkest. And we're going to sort of put this out all over the mat. Make a bit of a mess. And get some water out. Get this all wet. And then I've just grabbed, this is half a bit of watercolour paper just to give it a go. And I'm just going to smush this in and just see what we get and build this up. Now if it's not completely okay, that's alright. We're going to work with it until we get something. Very messy project, this one. So that's kind of cool. And then just in between, I'm just going to clean up my mess so that we've got a nice clean base to start off with, and then just dry it off with the heat tool. And the cool thing about the way the oxides work is this will actually build up on top of each other, so we can kind of keep going and it will build up the next layer on top. So we'll do the same thing again, a bunch of ink down, a bunch of water. I'm just going to try not to put this right over the top, kind of stick it on the edges a little bit more. Not liking picking up just there. Oh, there we go. I'm not liking this too much. It's blending into each other more than I wanted it to. When that dries, it'll look a bit different, but at least for now, we'll give that a go. So we've still got to put the Tattered Rose in. Still not sure I like it, but anyway, keep going. Finish the job, then decide you don't like it. That's what I'm going to try and do. So this one's Tattered Rose. It's very light. I don't know what it's going to do on top of these two. I probably should have gone the other way. Done the light and built up to the dark. But anyway. It's done now. I'm trying to get it here. It doesn't want to pick up. So let's have some fun. There we go. Because I knew I wanted to cover that bit up, just come on and smushed it. There we go. Don't love it, but I don't hate it. Don't love it, but I don't hate it. I want to play with texture here. I'm going to try and do some things today that maybe I don't do quite so often. I still am going to use a bit of paper from the notepad though, so don't panic. So now I'm going to give it a really good dry off. And we'll see what we've got, and then we can decide if we need to add more colours in. Alright, again, because I'm wanting to experiment a bit here, I'm just going to grab in some inks. So this is ink. Distress ink reacts differently to Distress Oxide. Oxide will always give you this little bit of powder kind of coverage to it. So what I'm doing here is putting, this is vintage velvet as well, Victorian velvet, sorry. Putting that down on the mat as well. And we're gonna water that up in the exact same way, but this should react differently. So it should give me a different kind of splatter on top. That's better. Now we've got some stuff. It just needed a bit of contrast. It was just looking a bit plain. A bit plain. I like this ink smushing. And then just to add a little bit more to it, I just want to see what I've got here. So we've got Rusty Hinge, Gathered Twigs, Rusty Hinge. We're going to stay with the reddy kind of colours. Just coming in on the edge here. I'm doing a Tim Holtz. I'm playing. I don't know what I'm making, but I'm playing. Use my finger. I'm just going to smudge these just a little, just to make an edge. Sometimes your fingers work just nicely as an art tool. Alright, I want a little bit more of that Victorian velvet smudged in the middle. But then I'm almost happy with that. I've got marks on my fingers, but that's right. Just so you guys can see, I'm just going to put this on the white portion so you can actually sort of see how much I'm putting down. You can really tell with the oxides, but it's a bit harder with the inks. Okay. Just pick that up. There we go. And because I didn't dry it, some of that Rusty Hinge is just kind of coming off on the side as well. So I'm just going to dry this. I'm going to leave this wetness over here to try and, if I need to pick up any more I can. This is fun. I like trying things that I'm really not comfortable trying. I'm just going to grab in my stencils. I'm just going to see what I've got in way of, I want something sort of on the bottom and on the side, which I'm going to use some texture paste to kind of bring in. So I'm thinking I don't want anything that's really geometric, which sadly I seem to have a lot of. So I'm going to try, I'm going to get this one here. This is one from Kmart. This is like a cheetah spot, I guess you'd say. So we're going to play with the minc texture paste, and we're going to play with the minc ink. We're going to do a bit of both. I'm just working out where I want to put this. So I'm just going to stick this down on the back. I'm not going to put the stencil across the whole thing. But it's easier to stick it down like this, and then it's not going to go anywhere. So I think I want to put like some down the side here and then some up the top here. I'm not 100% sure yet even where I'm cutting this. Now I've got the two different kinds of texture paste. I'm just going to use the clear one this time because we're going to cover it up with some foil anyway, so it's not going to make any difference. And I'm still deciding if I want to then come in and add something else. I don't know, we'll get there. So I'm just going to squish a little bit on in the corners and then down the side here. Whoops, helps to put the lid on the right way. And I'm just grabbing my little spatula that I've got here, which is really just a kitchen spatula. It's nothing too fancy. And just moving that around the edges. I don't want it everywhere, although I just almost put it everywhere. And we'll just see what comes of it. Kind of did get that more places than I wanted to, but anyway. So I'm going to foil it, but I'm going to try in a minute to only foil partially because I like the texture that the texture paste gives, because that's what it is and everything. It's supposed to give you texture, but it does give a nice kind of raised effect to things even if you don't foil it. So while that's drying, because you should never put that through the minc while it's wet, wait till it's dry. going to give my mat just a bit of a clean, just with some water. While that's doing that, what I want to use from the notepad is I want to use this bit of paper here that has all the hearts. So I think I'll cut these out, and then because they kind of match the colour in the background, see if that makes sense. Now this is on really skinny paper, so it's not going to be strong enough for me to actually mount up on here the way I want. So I'm just going to stick it down onto some plain white cardstock. Any cardstock will do here. Scraps are great. I just don't happen to have any at the moment. I've used it all up. And I'm trying to decide, I don't need to put the whole thing on there. So I'm just going to I'll trim out the hearts, or like the line of the hearts, and stick that down. I might just stick these down with liquid glue. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick these down, and I'll be right back. This is still a bit wet, so I don't want to use it yet. Big thing is just don't ever use the texture paste when it's wet, because it'll just squish all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the minc on. I'm going to leave this to sit on top of it, so it's just sitting on top. It's not actually going through anything. I'll leave that for about 5 minutes just to kind of warm up and try to dry it off a bit faster. I can hear some of you guys going, why don't you just use the heat tool? The heat tool makes this bubble in a not good way. So it doesn't kind of give you a nice finish afterwards, so I don't want to use the heat gun. So I'm just going to leave it to dry for a little bit longer. I've got some hairs stuck all over it. And I'll be right back once she's dry. Alright, so it's about 95% dry. You can kind of tell when it goes a bit clear. So I'm going to use some rose gold foil on this one. I think rose gold matches better than the other colours I've got. And like I said, the idea here isn't to get it, I don't want it all over the thing, so I'm kind of going to play with the shape of the foil a little bit here. So I've just kind of cut off a little strip of it, or a bit of it. Strip may be a little bit too technical a term. I feel like I'm doing a smash journal. That's honestly what I feel like I'm doing right now. Just making a mess, just for the sake of it. This would be a good place too to use some of those scraps of foil if you have any. I actually don't have any of my rose gold at the moment, but that's alright. We'll soon find out. So I'm going to run that through the minc, which is still on, thank goodness, and I'll be right back. So I have a feeling that this is going to have stuck. Yeah. I reckon I've ruined it. It's going to come off fine on these bits, but because I put it straight over the stuff that was still wet, I have a feeling it's not going to come off. Okay. Have a think, work it out. Nope, guys, I've stuffed this one up. Alright, you know what? I'm absolutely determined for this not to be over. I'm just determined for it not to be over. Let's just see what we can do. I'm going to have to cut this up. I can't have it like that, but we may still be able to find a way to do this. All right. This is a time times that I really wish I had more of the distress inks, because I have kind of an idea. So alright, we're going to get, I always tend to cut my Memorydex cards to be 13.5 wide by 10 tall, so I'm just going to go a little bit higher than 10 this time. So there's my actual card shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag. I'm just trying to show you guys that you don't, just because you've messed it up, because I've definitely messed it up. There's no two weighing about that. I've messed it up. But I want to, oh, actually my work. I want to find a way to make it not completely over. So, just putting these colours of ink, just smearing them on the back there. That looks really cool, by the way. Should have done that in the first place instead of the whole big smushy mess. Oh well. Then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out anywhere I can salvage it. So, it is going to be a little messy and kind of annoying. I don't mind if a little bit of it's not. I feel like I am I'm killing a dead horse, but you know what, it's already really messy and gross, so let's just make it a bit more messy and gross. I'm just going to dry this off really quick. Rescue from this. Kind of like some of these bits where it's not, where it's actually pulled up the paper. Kind of looks cool. I don't know, guys. I'm just mucking around now more than anything else. I really like that background. Maybe go that way. Put a couple of these down the bottom, and then I need something. All right, this is something I learnt from a Memorydex card that I did for the Memorydex challenge. When I can't think of a die, like I don't want a die cut or anything to go there, I don't think I have anything that's sort of like a picture in here other than a heart, I'm going to grab a photo. I'm going to get a photo. So I'm going to stick this down first. I'm going to get these all down, and I'm going to get a photo and print it out with my sprocket, and we're going to put that in the middle. Because we're doing all hearts and everything anyway, you might as well put a picture of something that you love. The obvious thing is Ryan, but I might find something else. I used the glue tape for the big portion there with all the foiling, but for the other ones I'm going to use liquid glue, and it's just because I'm not quite sure where I want to put everything, and so liquid glue gives me a little bit of time to look at it and decide, yep, that's what I want, or no, that's not what I want. Yeah, that works. And I'll just put an acrylic block on top of it while it's drying. Kind of like that I've got ink on these. I didn't do it on purpose, but it actually kind of looks cool. I think something I like too about Memorydex cards is that you don't have to stay on the page. Like you can come off the sides, or you can hit over the top, and you can do them different sizes and shapes. So they do become a little bit more like little bits of art, whether or not that's the way you want to think of them or not. This one's definitely the most artistic one I've ever done. But we might have salvaged something that I was just about ready. I actually turned to Ryan and said, no, I've stuffed this one up and we can't do it. So I may have salvaged it. I do like the inky fingers. I don't like the dog hairs, but this is my house. We can't do anything about that. So, I'm going to put that down on there, get the sprocket out. And thankfully I know it's charged because I used it just a couple of days ago, unless I forgot to turn it off, which, knowing me. Yeah. While that's doing its thing, let's find a photo. So I haven't turned it completely sepia, but just playing with it until I kind of get what I want. And then I'm gonna go share. I can actually print, I think, straight to, no I can't. So we'll go save a copy. Right at the moment that I did that, so I'm actually just going to punch it twice. It's going to be a wide one. It'll still sit, but it's just going to be a bit wider. So see how that's kind of keeping with that reddish tone to it? So I'm just going to give that a second to finish doing its thing. And then I've just jumped into my stamp collection. And I've got this one here that just says you have my heart, always in my heart. Which I didn't realise was actually 2 stamps, but it is. And then I don't know if this is going to stamp on here, considering I've already got all this ink and everything on it. We've given everything else a red hot go today, so we might as well give this a little bit of a go too. So I want to stamp it just up here. So I've got this is my VersaFine ink in Vintage Sepia. Again, trying to stick with that kind of brownie tone. I'm just going to do a practice stamp off on a bit of scrap, which this isn't actually scrap, but you know what I mean. Alright, we'll give that a shot. Okay, it's not quite as bold as I want it to be, but because I'm always thinking of ways to fix things that don't work. Alright, so I'm actually going to get a little bit of this. So here in the bit that I've made a mess. I can't remember if VersaFine works with embossing powder. I think it does. Let's try anyway. So I'm just going to stamp this in the VersaFine. Put it down. This is clear embossing powder. It's just Sizzix stuff from Spotlight. I haven't pre-done this with powder because quite honestly, if it doesn't stick to something, I'm okay with that. It does stick. Good work. So put this away. Okay, there's a few things I really like about this. I like that there's a little bit of that texture paste that's still there, so it's kind of making it do funny things. And the same thing, there's actually a little bit of the tearing of the paper in the middle, which is making it blur just a little bit, but I think it's still okay. You can still read what it says anyway. So I'm just going to trim this out. I'm going to leave a fairly generous border around it. I feel like I've really just been let loose with a bunch of supplies today and said, alright, see what you can create. Because it's been very messy and very wrong, and whoops, I've stuffed it all up, but I don't know, I feel like this might work. So it's going to make that a bit bolder because now it's got a little bit of dimension to it. It hasn't embossed everywhere. The Always In My hasn't got the heat embossing to it, and some of the heart bits don't either, but it adds to the whole I'm not quite right feeling. So I'm going to trim this off at the bottom, try and make it a bit straighter than that. I'm actually just going to trim a little bit off at the top as well. Don't care if it's straight now because it's going to be a bit more fun. And then we'll put this in here. So it'll end up sitting just like that. So we'll get the backing paper off. So the fun thing about using the sprocket actually is that you can kind of just put it wherever because it's already got glue to it. I'm going to slide it underneath the little bit at the top here, whoops, which I'll stick down again in a minute because it's not quite sticking the way it should. There we go. And then the Always In My Heart bit I'm going to actually put up on just a little bit of foam tape. Not too much. And there is my big old mess of a Memorydex. I don't know what I think. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think it's something very, very different for me. I like the different textures on here. You've obviously got the funny background. You've got the different spots with the minc that just didn't quite work. So you've got that little pop of foil, but then you've got the the extra texture too of that embossing powder, and the fact that that's not perfect either. I like the imperfections of this one. But anyway, like, I don't think this is the best Memorydex I've done, but I think it's the most out there I've been, and the most let's just chuck it all out there and see what happens I've been. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's come out. I'm not happy with how it came about, but it's just, you never want to give up on the project, even if you think you've ruined it, which, God, did I think I ruined it. I've found a way to somehow make it all work back together again. So let me know what you think though. If you think it's horrible, please let me know. I'm happy for the feedback. You can leave it down below, or of course you can find me on any of my socials. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and let me know if there's a technique you'd like me to try more of, or something you'd like to see that maybe we can play along with and see what we can create. If you want to do that, leave it down below too, or on any of my socials. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day, whatever you're doing, and I'll catch you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles!